Assalamu alaikum. Today's presentation is going to be anti-Semitism and Zionism. And in the past, I have reached out to anti-Zionist Jews to answer those terminologies, just because we didn't want to get into a clash with Zionist Jews, and also a clash anti-Zionist Jews regarding these definitions. But I think, given the situation and how it is unfolding in Gaza, it is necessary for us to step back, reclaim what it means to be Semitic, who are the Semites, and then to push back on those Jews who are European, they're not Semites, who have hijacked the ethnic race, which is the Semitic race or Semites, and not only hijacked that race, but they have also are using it as a cover to ethnically cleanse the Semitic people from their native land under the guise of fighting anti-Semitism. If we take the word anti-Semitism and separate it, it's like, it's anti-Semitism, right? So there's like two words, and we all know what anti means. It's to be against. So if I was to ask you, it's a very simple search, what is anti-blackness, right? And so a simple search, you can go through on any browser and just type it. And everybody seems to agree. Anti-blackness simply is, again, specific kind of racial prejudice, discrimination, others will say, directed towards Black people. Some say that it's aimed at preventing equality between Black people and other races. Anti-Blackness describes the inability to recognize Black humanity, captures the reality that kind of violence that saturates Black life is not based on any specific thing, and so on. So if you go in and you look at it, it tells you about anti, which is like to be against, have full prejudice, to be against equality regarding who? Black people. So if you just go through a simple search, you will find the exact same wording, different articles, and it gives case examples. Unfair disadvantages some individuals and communities, unfair advantages other individuals and communities. So it gives you, again, about all the different ways this racism or prejudice towards Black people takes place in our communities. If you keep the word anti, but switch Blackness and say woman, and say, what is anti-woman? We're just going to keep the word anti and just say, what is anti-woman? And they tell you exactly the same thing: prejudice, opposition to equality, against who? Well, this time it's against anyone who is woman. So then it gives you similar examples about where this time the discrimination in the feelings of negative feelings that people hold is actually towards women. And it gives you, again, different ways that this contempt and this prejudice against women or girls takes place in our community. Another term for anti-woman is misogyny. So again, expressing hostility, discrimination toward women. So to be anti is to hold hostility, discrimination, prejudice, not to want equality against women. So If we change woman and we say Semitic, it's again the exact same thing. Prejudice, hostility, discrimination, contempt for who we say Semitic, the Semitic people. So now the question is, who are the Semitic people? If we hold on the word anti, push it aside for a moment, and let's do a search on who are the Semitic people. Semitic people or Semites is like an ethnic, cultural, or racial group associated with people of the Middle East. So this is like the Levant, Turkey, Egypt, Arabian Peninsula, Iran, Iraq, and it includes Arabs. There are Jews that are native to the area. Some are from like Iran, some are from Yemen. These are Semitic Jews. And there are others. But again, Semites are people who are cultural, racial group associated with people of the Middle East. Not all Jews are Semitic people. Jews that live in the Middle East are native to the Middle East. And this is where it is. Arabian Peninsula, the Levant, Turkey, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, it includes Morocco, others. Those are Semitic Jews. Those that lived in Europe and came from Europe, those are European Jews. They're not Semites. They are European Jews. So the mere fact that you're Jewish does not make you a Semite. It makes you, European Jewish, but it does not make you a Semitic Jew. So there are Semitic Jews and there are European Jews. There are American Jews. But you can't be a Semite when you are in Europe and you come to the Middle East and start then hijacking the cultural, ethnic, racial group Semites. And on top of the fact that you claim that racial group and you claim that cultural, that ethnicity, you go and then do something even more, like you start to then create a movement that aims to hold prejudice, hostility, contempt, discrimination towards people of the Middle East, Arabs, Iranians, Turks, whoever it is of the Middle East, Semitic group, and seek to transfer them, ethnically cleanse them from their native land to create a Jewish state. And when they resist, you start to then say that the Semitic people who are living on their land, resisting Jews coming from Europe, are anti-Semitic. This is called mumbo jumbo, and you're hoping that no one notices it by the more confusing and confusing and confusing that you can make something. Hopefully it'll become so complicated that people will just look to you and just say whatever you want them to say. If you are European and you're Jewish, you're a European Jew. You do not get to hijack the ethnic culture group of Semitic people and then create a movement called Zionism and then seek through that movement to showcase contempt, prejudice, hatred, racism toward the Semitic people, and then respond to their resistance as by accusations that they're anti-Semitic. That is complete, total nonsense. Not all Jews are Zionists. most Zionists are actually non-Jews. People support the Zionist movement for religious reasons, for political reasons, or national reasons. Some support it because they had a Jewish problem in Europe and they would like the Jews to get out. They don't want them there. Some people, they see it as a colonial project that allows them a foothold into the Middle East, that they can keep pushing their military bases in the Middle East under the claim that they're there to protect and defend the state of Israel. And so on and so on, various types of reasons. Some have a Christian understanding of some prophecy that they are working to socially engineer into existence with the power that they have, and hoping that people are stupid enough that they will think that God actually brought about a miracle with their exercising this, firepower on natives, killing them, incinerating them, and they're just sitting here nodding their head without using their faculties of reason. A Jewish majority was impossible to achieve on the Jewish immigration, based on Jewish immigration and natural growth. Founding fathers, from Theodore Herzl and others, David Ben-Gurion, Moshe Sharett, Jabotinsky, and then Weizmann, they concluded the population transfer was the only solution. This is their words, Arab problem. So they came from Europe to the Middle East, and they had an Arab problem. They wanted to transfer the natives of the land from the area so that they can create a Jewish state and to diminish the Arab population. It also serves as a second, no less important aim, which is to advocate land presently held and cultivated by Palestinian Arabs, and thus to release it for Jewish inhabitants. This is the expulsion of Palestinians, page 94, 95. So they don't seek coexistence amongst the Arabs. They came because they had an Arab problem, and they wanted to expel the people, the natives, ethnically cleanse them to create a Jewish state. This is, in a nutshell, the Zionism way of life. If we switch the name Arab and we say Black, we would identify Zionism as supremacy, racism, discrimination without, snap of our fingers. If we were to say, substitute Palestinian Arab with women and Jews with men, we would easily recognize the issue at hand and say, again, this is, for example, opposition to equality. This is anti-rights. We would understand this is hostility towards women, discrimination based on women, contempt, prejudice. We would easily understand what is taking place. But when we have nurtured a culture that is anti-Arab, anti-Palestinian, which, if we look at the definition, is anti-Semitism, and we see it play out through the movement called Zionism, because we've been brainwashed by hijacking of terminology, stretching their definition where they don't even apply, and then excluding certain ethnicities and races and ethnic groups where it does apply. We are totally lost from seeing what is very clear in our face. The expulsion of the Palestinian people from their native homeland by Jews who came from Europe is anti-Semitism. Arabs are Semites. When a movement seeks to expel them and ethnically cleanse them from their native homeland, this movement, Zionism, is anti-Semitism. It's very clear. It does not need a debate. It does not need a discussion. So let's repeat. Jews can be Semitic and they can be European or other ethnicities and races. But not all Jews are Semitic people. All Arabs are Semitic people. All members of the Middle East are Semitic people. European Jews are European. They are not culturally, racially, or ethnically Semitic. They are European. They are living in the Middle East, but they are European. Those that move to the Middle East are living in the Middle East, but they are ethnically, culturally, racially European. In fact, when they came to Palestine, they weren't trying to, like, you know, when you come here, like here, I'm living in Minnesota, Somalis will come and you'll see that they try to bring a little bit of Somalia into like Minnesota. Everyone, like when they like to take their culture, their ethnic, you know, way of life, they bring it with them. You go to a Mexican shop, you'll see like Mexican type food, music, whatever. They bring in that part of who they are with them, their racial, you know, definition of who they are. The Zionists, European Jews, they didn't bring Semitic cultural, you know, food, Semitic cultural ways of life to the Middle East when they came from Europe. They brought with them European, even the way they build the buildings, the lifestyle that they want, very European. The settlements, modeling European architecture. So they brought Europe with them. They are, why? Because they're culturally, racially, ethnically European. And when you come to the Middle East and you are culturally, ethnically, racially European, and you are seeking to transfer those who are Semitic from their native land, that movement is an anti-Semitic movement. Zionism is anti-Semitism. Say, trying to, like, you know, throw drama and throw a tantrum and say we're going to have a meeting in Congress, like some individuals say, and we're going to formulate bills and say, nope, we don't want it to be that way. That's just you throwing a tantrum. You can't throw a tantrum and say, I know what it looks like on the ground and what the facts say. I don't like it though, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to throw a tantrum and demand that Zionism is just self-determination for Jews. And when you tell Jews who immigrated and they're trying to ethnically cleanse Palestinians, and you push back and say you can't do that, then you point fingers at Semites and say you're anti-Semitic, and then throw a tantrum, and then somehow everybody's going to have to, like, say, try to console you and say, yeah, that's anti-Semitic. No, it's not. No, it is not. You are throwing a tantrum. You are creating drama. If we look at the terms and we look at the definitions, it's very clear. When we say what anti-blackness is, you just go in, you look it up. Encyclopedia, a dictionary, it gives you many articles by scholars telling you what anti-blackness is. change black to woman, it gives you similar things, except this time is directed against women. If you change women or black into now Semitic, it tells you that Semites are people of the Middle East, and it includes Arabs of the Middle East and Jews who are native to the Middle East. And if we understand what it means to be anti someone from the Middle East or someone who's Semitic, then we can recognize that Zionism is anti-Semitism. It's in your face. You cannot throw a tantrum and, like a toddler and just demand that everybody reject what's in your face as clear as day taking place and say, no, Zionism is not Zionism is anti-Semitism. I understand you want to throw, a tantrum, and you want to go to Congress and throw a tantrum in Congress. But the facts on the ground are as clear as day. Zionism is anti-Semitism. These are the founders of the Zionist movement, including Theodore Herzl. In their own words, they have an Arab problem. Someone says, I have a black problem. What do you say? You say they're anti-black. Someone says, I have a woman problem. What do you say? You say they are anti-women. If Zionists, the founders, these are the founders of Zionism. There are others, but these are they all come with the same baggage. They say we have an Arab problem and we need to transfer these Arabs, ethnically cleanse them is the only solution to this Arab problem. What do you say? You say Zionism is anti-Semitism. It's right there in their own words. But some of us, because people are really good at throwing, a tantrum, and they throw it and they scream loud and clear, all over the world has to hear them. And they go to Congress and they scream louder, a tantrum. Somehow we're supposed to pretend that what we're seeing, the transfer, the domination, the subjugation of Arabs is actually what? We're supposed to pretend like we're not seeing it. And then we escape reality and we keep employing stupidity into Dumb and Dumber utopia land and thinking because we escaped reality and went into Dumb and Dumber land that somehow we won. You didn't win anything. You're deriving strength and superiority when others are on their knees, humiliated and subjugated. These are pictures that were taken by Israeli soldiers themselves. This is how they derive superiority and strength. They submitted many, many pictures. It's not just post-October 7th. Before October 7th, nonstop pictures of them showing themselves conquering, subjugating Palestinians. Now, this picture that you're seeing was a white, and this was a black man. We would immediately figure it out. It clicks. That's anti-black. If this was an Arab mullah, let's just say the Taliban, and this was a woman, we would immediately click. We'd say this is anti-woman. And it just clicks right there. But here you're seeing a European Jew. He's European, Semitic Arab, and we're still escaping reality. And we're, employing Dumb and Dumber because oppression, they say, it doesn't have a strong argument. You can't respond to oppression with a strong argument because it's employs prejudice and stupidity to gain kind of like followers. And it screams loudly and silences people who have a strong argument for it And it uses the cover of anti-Semitism. So who's anti-Semitic in this photo? Is it the European Jew dominating, subjugating the Semitic Arab? Who's anti-Semitic? Or is it the Arab who is being dominated, subjugated, tortured? If you look at his, his knee, his finger right here, extreme, and you can see the bleeding right here. He's being subjugated, tortured, abused by this European Jew. Which one is engaged in anti-Semitism? The facts speak for themselves. This is a picture before October 7th, way before, when they were threatening, here he is, threatening of a Nakba 2. This is the culture of Israel. Non-stop, in your face, threatening of Nakba 2. Nakba is a reference to the expulsion of Arabs. So they've been non-stop threatening Palestinians in demonstrations, in protests, of expelling them from the Middle East. Expelling them, from Palestine. But if you look at it, their whole history, they don't want to just take over Palestine. They have their eyes set on Lebanon. They have their eyes set on Syria. They have their eyes set on parts of Egypt. They're in their mind, they need to take over and conquer. This is the word they use. They like to conquer, the Middle East. So it's kind of colonialism phase. I don't know how often they kept pushing themselves, but it's colonialism. And this is literally just the new phase or new age colonialism. And those who resist this colonialism and resist this ethnic cleansing and resist the genocide that is taking place, as well as the nonstop threats, again, of a second Nakba, they're supposed to be anti-Semitic. The Semitic people who are resisting their ethnic cleansing, who are resisting their genocide, who are resisting being humiliated, subjugated on their knees, are supposed to be the anti-Semites, and were actually escaped reality into Dumb and Dumber land. And in Congress, of all places, we're having bills passed that define those who are ethnically cleansing the Semites from their native land, humiliating them, subjugating them, dominating them as the victims, and those who are resisting as the anti-Semites. This is, again, alternate reality. When we escape reality and we go in Dumb and Dumber land, and we start to sort of have this sort of accusing, attacking the victim with everything that we are doing to the victim. I mentioned this site many times, Palestine Remembered. Too many times we talked about, for example, that Palestinians want to push Jews in the sea. Yet, May 1948, Palestinians were being pushed into the sea by the Zionist Jewish forces. Again, what is anti-Black? What is anti-women? What is anti-Semitic? It's the same. If you just switch Black, women, Semitic, it's the same. The discrimination, the prejudice, the hostility, opposing equality, humanity of that particular group that you are anti. And this is in one example. Others you could read here if you go to the introduction, Zionism and its impact on the bodies, on the land, on the lives of Palestinians. you don't need even like a degree to see it. It's like in your face. You just have to have the courage to tell the toddlers who are throwing a tantrum and a tantrum and a tantrum, I'm really sorry, but throwing a tantrum doesn't make you Semitic, and it doesn't make genocide okay, and it doesn't make those who oppose genocide and ethnic cleansing anti-Semitic, and it does not make Zionism a cool, nice movement for Jewish self-determination. No, it's anti-Semitism. And it's very important for us to just do very simple, basic reading, and for us to see what the terms, the definitions mean, and to reason well. Evidence is as clear as day in your face. It does not need a Congress hearing. What it needs is sane people to push back, find the courage, tell those who are throwing a tantrum and huffing and puffing, stop. Zionism is anti-Semitism. If you're a European Jew, you don't get to hijack the Semitic culture, ethnic, racial group, ethnically cleanse them, and then accuse them when they resist you for ethnically cleanse them, torturing them, humiliating them, of anti-Semitism. This has to come to a stop. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullah wa barakatuh.